Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Expander Series webinar. Thank you very much for joining me. We're just going to give it a moment or two to just let other people join as they come through. Thank you very much for joining us. It's great to have people part of our eCom cooperative joint share thing that we did a little while ago, where actually someone won an expansion journey. That was an amazing evening, actually, they held probably a few months ago now. And it's been exciting to see the eCom cooperative journey, and the fact that we're now doing some stuff together is absolutely amazing. So looking forward to sharing this. This is really around how to expand to new markets and double your sales. What tricks people are using currently to expand their businesses, to get their e-commerce businesses into different markets and to increase their sales, because ultimately that's what most people are after, is looking at how they increase their sales, increase their brand, take more market share. So that's the key thing we're going to be looking at today, and I'm excited to go through this. So let's crack on with the agenda. So today's agenda: introduction to the EU expansion pathway, how to make it nice and simple for you, break down the steps, the current landscape, and then we've got a Q&A that we're going to do at the end. So we're going to run through that. So let's move on to the next slide. That's going to be what we're going to cover today. And your host is me, I'm afraid. So you've got me. I'd like to say that photo, I'm just looking at that photo and me at the moment, it's definitely not quite to scale, I'd like to say. I definitely look a bit rounder there than I definitely am in real life. But either way, my name's Andy. I'm the CEO at Global eCommerce Experts. I've been involved in e-commerce for well over a decade now. I started selling silicone watches on Amazon, and that led me to a pathway that basically ended up helping me to expand typically US-based sellers into the Europe for their e-commerce stores, mainly around Amazon, because that's where I knew and what I did. But it was all about successfully expanding sellers. My background is coaching, so the fact that I just love working with sellers, I like people, see people succeed. All of this plays firmly into our hands now. We've successfully expanded over 2,000 sellers, across a range of services, and that's where sellers have actively expanded into Europe. And then from there, they've gone on and they've successfully expanded their business to 6-7 figures. So this is the pathway. So what we did is, having expanded over 2,000 sellers, what we looked at is, what actually do sellers need to expand? What's the step that people need to follow in order to make that happen? Because when we start talking about expanding to new markets and doubling your sales, it's all very well. But the downside to that is there's a huge amount of things that people need to take into consideration and do in order to make it a success. So what we did is we looked at everything that our clients were doing and what we were supporting with them doing, and then making it a really, really straightforward process. So this is the part of the expansion journey. And this is the 7-step process. So it doesn't matter where you are in your journey. You could join this if you've started already, no problems at all. But if you're a beginner, you haven't expanded to Europe, or you haven't expanded to a new market. When I say Europe, actually, this is very relevant to any other market, whether you're expanding to Japan, to India, to Australia, to Canada, to UAE, whenever there is another Amazon market. And when I say Amazon, because most of the sellers we work with are Amazon-based sellers. So what happens is we've focused this mainly around that piece. Now, this works across all different e-commerce platforms, but that's when I say it can be used to expand into new markets. Now, what I would say is this is focused on Europe, and there are some tweaks to do for other markets, but that's where we are. So let's just talk through. We're going to talk through these individually one by one. The first thing is, we want to make sure we've done that research before we expand. We want to make sure that our product is right. Second thing, we want to get our business and our product compliant. Then we want to launch on a marketplace. We're going to need a warehouse, especially if it's in a new marketplace, to get returns or to ship containers into. Once we've got all that, we can start promoting our products. We've got to build a website, and we've got to scale the business. So that's the key 7 steps that we've focused on. So let's go to the next slide, and let's focus on that market research first, because the market research is absolutely critical. Market research gives you the ability to make sure, one, that your products has the ability to sell. Two, that it's not an oversaturated market. 3, that there's possibly someone selling something similar to what you're doing, something. And 4, your target market is there, because you need to make sure all of those things are there in order for you to sell products. So there's a couple of things you should do. The first thing is really a feasibility study. You need to look at all of those things. You need to do your market research and make sure your products will sell. That's as simple as that. You need to know who your target market is, who they are, and what they want from your product. Once you've got that, the next stage of that is basically sorting your product sourcing out. Now, product sourcing is a massive issue right now. Every e-commerce seller that I speak to typically is importing from Asia or somewhere in that region of the world. Now, that's all very well, but the downside to that at the moment is that a container could cost you $15,000 to $20,000. Well, that is absolutely crazy. Like, there's just no need for that, right? So, that's why product sourcing isn't just about product sourcing in certain areas. You might want to look at getting it made locally to the market you're trying to sell to. So, where in Europe can you source your products? Sorry, I've got a really dry throat all of a sudden. I don't know why. So that's the first piece. The first piece is understand the market, make sure your products can be sold, make sure there's a market for it, understand who your audience is, and then see if you can source your products, either additional products, because you might not want to get, if you've already paid customs and duties to ship your products to, let's say, the States, and you then don't want to ship it from the States to Europe. Now, you might want to do that for a small consignment in order to understand how, if your products are selling, things like that. We don't really recommend that because you just got to go all in with these things. But, you could test the market in that way should you wish. But that's where we're going. So that's the market research piece. Then what we do is we then move on to compliance. Now, once you understand exactly what you're trying to achieve from your market research and your products, compliance is the next piece. Now, you need to do 2 things here. You need to get your business compliant and you need to get your products compliant. And it doesn't matter, again, wherever you're going in the world, these 2 things you need to solve. So you need to make sure that your product is compliant with the regulations in where you're shipping the product to. Now, if they're being sold in Europe, you need to make sure those products can be sold all across Europe. There might need to have translations on the products. You need to have CE marking. You might need to have it registered on the cosmetics portal. There's so many different things from your product point of view that you have to do first. So it's about getting the product compliant first, making sure if you know that you've done the market research, it's then moving on. This is like extended market research, if you like. This is making sure that your product is compliant with the regulations. And if it's not, what you need to do to tweak and change it. Because quite often, if you're already selling a product in the States, I'm going to pick this iPhone as an example, right? I'm selling this phone in the States. This needs different markings on than what you've already got in Europe. So there'll be a CE marking required on this iPhone rather than a US marking, as a prime example. So you need to make sure not only is the product compliant, but the label is compliant as well. So that's the first step. The next step is once you're happy that you've done the market research, you can sell the product and that you have got your product compliant, then at that point, you then need to register for VAT. You then need to get your business registered in order to sell in the markets that you want to sell into. Now, all of these things that we're going to go through today, step 1, step 2, up to step 7, I could spend a day on each one of these, educating you on, what you need to do. Now, this is designed purely as an overview to give you a flavor of what's needed, to give you that guide of where you need to go. All right. So the VAT is the next piece. Now, there's also something called OSS, which is one-stop shop. Now, depending on the model you're going for and the platform you sell on will depend on which one might be better. If you're going for an Amazon approach and you're going for marketplaces across Europe, you'll want to be VAT registered. If you are a based on a Shopify or a single platform and you're looking to sell off your website and fulfill from one or maybe two locations, actually one-stop shop might be a better location. But it's well worth having a look into that. The next thing is you'll need someone that's going to be responsible for your products in Europe, because what happens is if there's a problem with your product, the regulators, the authorities want to know they can speak to someone about that and having contact with the brand owner. All right. And the last thing is you need to make sure your product's barcoded, and that's not the same barcode, unfortunately, as your US barcode. And also you need to make sure that your trademarks, you've got trademarks. So we're seeing at the moment the people that are winning, successfully expanding into Europe, are those that have a trademark and a brand. That doesn't mean to say that people aren't doing that, aren't succeeding. But what we're seeing is those that have enhanced brand content, those that can recognize a brand and be and create a social media presence behind that, are the ones that are really getting probably the biggest traction right now. That doesn't mean to say that you can't, but that's where we're seeing a huge amount of benefit. So that's the compliance piece. You've now done your market research. You've now got your business and your product compliance. The next thing to think about is about marketplace launch. Which marketplace is the best platform for you? But before you get to that, sometimes you need to think about the shipping and customs and payments. There's a whole load of things in here. So let's just take the marketplace piece as the next step. Like, which marketplace is best for you? Amazon has a foothold in a lot of countries now. So that's a great advantage. The downside is it's not the biggest marketplace in lots of those countries. So if we take France as a great example, France, so in France, CD discount is probably got the market share over Amazon, although they're very, very fairly competing. But actually, you might decide that you want to be on Amazon and start with Amazon. You might decide that you sell furniture and Wayfair is better for you. You might decide that you're more boutique and you want to do Etsy. You might decide, and I would suggest this, that all of your returns go onto eBay. So there's a whole load of different options. You've got OnBuy, Frugo, Real, Otto. There's so many different options that you need to make sure you get the right marketplace for you. That's the critical step. Making sure that the right marketplace is right for your products and your market audience. And we would suggest doing this in the market research right at the beginning in your feasibility study. So you've chosen your platform. The next thing to do is to work out where to ship that to. So you're going to need shipping and customs. So, where are you going to ship those products from? Do you need a container? Do you need a pallets? Do you need cartons? Do you send it by air? Do you send it by sea? Are you sending it from the States? Like, there's a whole load of different options. But when it comes to customs, what you then need to focus on with the customs is, do you need indirect representation? Do you need direct representation? Do you need import of record? There's lots of things around that specific area that you need to focus on and make sure you've got correct. And the last thing there is payments. I don't know about you, but I'm in business to be able to grow what we're doing and support people. And I can only support people by selling some services, which means I've got to take payments. Now, when you're taking payments for your e-commerce site, now, if you're doing it for a marketplace, they're going to capture that. But it's absolutely critical that you've got an ability to be able to receive funds in in different currencies. And there's great ways of doing that. Think of a PayPal business account, if you like. Not PayPal. There's a whole load of others that are much, much better. And that's what we would recommend. And, you've got different options for that, but you need to make sure you set that up, because you're then not paying, essentially expensive FX, cross-border payments. So absolutely critical. The last thing is, once you've chosen your platform, you need to make sure that you can speak to the people who are going to read that. So, for example, you might want to get it translated, or you might need it translated. Now, there's several steps to translations. There's free, which is Google. There's cheap, and then there's expensive. All right. They've all got their merits, but to start off with, you can do free, right? Google Translate will do this for you, and it will do a decent job. No, let me rephrase that. It will do a good job. It won't do an epic job. All right. So that's what you need to consider. So the next step is all about marketplace launch. You're finding the marketplace that's right for you. You're shipping your products and getting your products ready for sale. Now, if you're shipping your products, the next thing you're going to need in step 4 is probably some form of storage solution. Because if you're fulfilling from your own website, one, you'll need a 3PL, you'll need a third-party logistics, storage and fulfillment center. If you are shipping into a marketplace, let's take Amazon, FBA, or one of the others, then what you'll need is you'll be able to need to send a container or pallets in, get them with storage limits as they are right now, get them stored in a local place, both in the UK and in Europe, and then get them fulfilled into Amazon's warehouses. And that's really, really key to be able to get them into those places. So a couple of things to consider here. You need somewhere in the UK and you need somewhere in Europe, ideally, because after Brexit, what happens is all the stock used to come into the UK and we distribute it all over Europe. Absolutely fantastic. Since Brexit, we're no longer part of the customs union. We are part of Europe still. We're just not part of customs union, which means we can't send stock backwards and forwards across the border free of charge. So what that means is you need to split your stock going into the UK and into the Netherlands. I say the Netherlands. We suggest the Netherlands for various reasons, but that's where we're up to. So you need to think about storage. Where you need to store your products. Do you need to fulfill either direct to the consumer or direct into business to business, let's say Amazon FBA or another place? You need somewhere to accept returns. You need to get returns done. And if you've got returns, you're going to need rework. And as I say, that's going to be required across the whole of the UK and Europe. Okay, so if you've got that nailed, the next thing you do, you've got your stock here, you've chosen your marketplace. The next thing you're going to have to do is promote your products. And promoting those products is absolutely crucial in order for you to succeed, whether that be pay-per-click, vouchers, deals, social. All of those things create a myriad of opportunities for you to sell your products. If you think that you're going to be able to come, put your stock online and sell, we're all wise enough and old enough probably to work out that that is not the dream, although you might be sold it by some guru on Facebook. The reality is always different. And the reality of that is that you've got to promote your products in order for them to sell. All right. Now, depending on where you are in the journey, if you've already expanded and you've already got to this step, I've put account health checks here. The reason for that is quite often we talk to clients and like, well, I'm not selling as much as I want to. I should be selling more. I don't know why we're not selling more in this SKU than this SKU. One thing that we suggest is you do an account health check. You check your account and see what you can do in order to give it a boost. All right. So get someone to get under the hood, independent to you, to give you an action plan on what you need to do in order to increase your sales. All right. Okay. So we've promoted our product. The last real step in that piece then is building a website. If you're on a marketplace, it's absolutely crucial that you start building your own list. You build your own store to get your own list. When you launch a new product, you're going to want to send, let's take the iPhone as an example. What happens is, every year I get an email from Apple. Hey, the new iPhone's arrived. When do you want to order yours? Well, if you're selling on Amazon, as an example, you can't do that. Whereas if you've got your own website, you can say, hey, new products just launched, go check it out. Now, clearly there's a million and one other things that need to go into that, but I'm using that as a snippet of an opportunity. So building a website, building a list, and creating the top 100 people you want to work with is critical. All right. So that's the next step, is step 6. And the last step is all about growth, expansion, creating the systems and processes to make that work as bestly as you possibly can. And then looking, depending on what you're looking to do, to exit. So what does that additional growth look like? Well, the first thing I mentioned when we talked about marketplaces is there's a whole load of different marketplaces that are absolutely key for you to be involved in. So what other marketplaces could you sell on? I mentioned a load of them. Frugo, OnBuy, CD Discount, Real, Otto, Alotto, Allegro, eBay. The list goes on and on and on. So, how do you then start expanding that? Because the great thing with Europe is there's 550 million people. The North American market is 360, 70 million. So the market is much bigger in Europe in order for you to sell. The difficulty comes is there's 27 countries, 28 countries. So with it being in 28 countries, you've got 27 different little nuances. And if you think about it, if you're states-based, if you think about it as Nexus is a great way of thinking about it, because Nexus is, it's different for every state. Well, Europe is no real different. The only added complication is there's a different language to be involved as well. So the opportunities there without any shadow of a doubt. So it's about more marketplaces. Can you get your stock into retail? And the last thing about that exit, the growth, is how do you exit? There's a lot of aggregators out there at the moment. There's lots of people involved. How do you exit your business as you scale and grow that? All right. Now, let's just look at that 7 steps as a guide, because what we've done now is I've added in a whole load more of those little hexagons you saw at the beginning. So you'll see across the middle in the white, that's the 7 steps we started with and we talked about at the beginning. Market research, compliance, market research, compliance. Did I say that? Anyway, market research, compliance, marketplace launch, 3PL, promote, website, and growth. So that is the 7 basic steps. Now, what you then see is you've then got a whole load of other things that go around that. Now, there's two ways of looking at this. There's one way of looking at going, geez, to expand to a new market and double my sale, I've got to do all of that. Reality is there's a whole load of those things in there you've got to do without any shadow of a doubt. If you're already selling on a platform like Amazon and you're moving over to a platform like Amazon in the UK, well, the good news is that's relatively straightforward because it's all like for like. So there's a whole load of things. But then what you need to think about is, if I'm going to do this, how am I going to do that successfully? And the way we find that people do this successfully is, 1, follow the process, follow the journey, follow this. If you do these things, now obviously there's a million and one other things that aren't in here, but these are the key headings you need to think about. This is the way you successfully expand with a proven model going forwards. Okay, this is it. Now, there's 2 ways to look at this. We've got the expansion pathway here. You can take that, you can use it, and you can go and make it happen. No problems. If you need support and help with any of that, global e-commerce experts are here to successfully expand e-commerce sellers into Europe. Now, and I'm just going to do one very small, I'm not a pitch. I don't think pitch is the right word because I'm not selling you anything today. But what I am going to say is that what we do. So global e-commerce experts successfully expands e-commerce brands into Europe. That's what we do. We started off doing VAT, then we started doing warehousing, and basically I said right at the beginning that my focus, I'm sorry, the lights seem to have gone a bit haywire and I'm now so bright. I do apologize, but hopefully you can see me clearly. Is that that coach in me wants to see people succeed. I like solving people's problems. I'm a service provider. I said at the beginning, I started by selling watches on Amazon. Selling products for me isn't exciting. It's exciting seeing our customers and our clients succeed, definitely. And what I fundamentally love is working in a service-based organization and providing support and help to sellers. That's what we do. And what we do is we do this. This expansion journey is us. This is what we do. This is how we support. And this is what we do for clients. We basically take your hand and we will hold you and guide you through every single step of this process and make it happen for you. That's the most critical part of what you need to make it happen. We're here to successfully expand e-commerce sellers into Europe. That's what we do. That's what we're here to do. And we can help you with every single step of those. And we do all of them with the exception of 2 in-house. We don't do payments in-house. We work with a payment provider that can help you with that. And we don't do trademarks. Everything else, based on working with 2,000 sellers, we can do. Yeah, we can do all of that and successfully expand you and give you the guidance and support. The great news is, as a service provider, we do all of these things for you. There's no need for any additional consultancy. It's all here. We're here to support and expand you successfully. Wonderful. I'm going to open up to questions and see what we've got. as I said, there's no sales pitch. There was just what we do there. So we'd love some questions from anyone that's got a question. So please feel free to fire away and we can go from there. Okay, so first question that's coming, thank you very much, is that, how do I get more information on some of this? Well, there'll be a link that will come out after this. But to be quite honest, all of this information that I've gone through is on our podcast and on our YouTube channel. So if you want to dive deeper into some of these areas, then it's straightforward. You can go to a podcast and our YouTube channel, and you'll be going to get all of those. We are a content first organization. We're here to supply content to make this as easy and as simple and as frictionless as possible. Outside of that, what we want to do is we want to support you in making that happen. So when you're ready, we're here to make that happen. Okay, hopefully that answered that. Any other questions? Let's get those coming through and see if there's anything else that we can answer. Okay, great. Next question. What's the sort of time frame it typically takes? So this all depends on the brand and the brand owner. Now, we can successfully expand people over a 12-month period. How long does it take to expand and get set up? Well, that is 14 days. We could get you selling in Europe in 14 days if we've got the ability and the process to get everything sorted for you. No problems whatsoever. So we can get you up and running straightforward. Now, some of that depends on the platform you're running on as well, but that's just how it goes. So it depends on that. It depends on how quickly we do that. Yeah, hopefully that answers that as well. Okay, next question. Thank you very much. So what is it, how do we store the products? So what we would typically suggest, especially with things like Amazon storage limits, is you have a fulfillment center nearby to a regional Amazon FBA center, be that in the UK or the Netherlands. So what we do is we have a UK facility and a Netherlands facility. What happens is you ship your stock to there, and then we can fulfill into FBA from there for you. We can unload the container or do any of those bits that you need. Fantastic. Okay, that looks like that's all the questions. Let's just move on to some contact. So give you the ability to get in contact with us should you wish. Relatively straightforward. Hopefully, if you Google Global E-commerce Experts, we'll come up. You can always email expand@globalecomexperts.com. We are on all the Facebook, social type channels. I even think we're on TikTok. I'm not sure we've done anything on TikTok, but you can always reach out the best way you feel approachable, that works best for you. Or you can always go to our phone numbers that you can phone there. Or lastly, the other way is to go to our website and fill in a contact form. That's it from us. My name's Andy. I'm the CEO here at Global E-commerce Experts. We're passionate about successfully expanding e-commerce sellers into Europe. We'd love to support you. We'd love to help you. If there's any questions or advice you need, please get in contact and we're here to support you. Thanks for your time. Take care, and we'll see you hopefully very, very soon. Thank you very much.